It was a bright autumn afternoon in Westbrook, and Central Park buzzed with families making the most of the pleasant weather. Margaret Turner, a 67-year-old woman, occupied her familiar bench, keenly observing the scene around her. A widow with no children, Margaret spent her days here, quietly keeping an eye on her community. Her discerning gaze and traditional values often prompted her to take quick actions, and today would prove no exception. Across the park, James Robinson was happily pushing his adopted son Lucas on the swing. At 34, James, a dedicated history teacher, had earned a reputation for his commendable work ethic and moral character. Lucas, an 8-year-old boy, had become the light of James's life after a family tragedy led to his adoption. The bond between them was unmistakable, yet Margaret watched them with a growing sense of unease. The visible racial difference between James and Lucas unsettled her, sparking an irrational fear that something might be amiss. While she understood that interracial adoptions were becoming more common, the thought that this man could be a threat to the boy gnawed at her. After a brief internal struggle, Margaret took out her phone and dialed the police, relaying her concerns about suspicious behavior. "There's a black man with a white child in the park," she stated firmly. "I think the child might be in danger." The police responded swiftly, with 2 officers making their way to James and Lucas. From her vantage point, Margaret watched, her heart racing as she convinced herself she was acting in the child's best interest. The officers requested a private conversation with James, while Lucas, confused and scared, stood to the side. Calm but visibly anxious, James began explaining to the officers that Lucas was indeed his adopted son. He retrieved his phone, producing documents and photos to confirm their relationship, which included family records and snapshots from various moments they'd shared. As the officers assessed the evidence, tension in the air softened, but Margaret remained unconvinced. As the officers continued their review, Margaret felt a familiar pang looking at Lucas. Drawing closer, she was struck by the boy's resemblance to her late sister Jane. Suddenly, a painful realization hit her. Jane, who had tragically perished in a car accident alongside her husband, had left behind a young child who had been placed for adoption when Margaret, too ill to care for him, had been unable to step in. Could Lucas be that child? The connection felt so strong that it brought tears to her eyes. With her heart heavy, she approached the officers and James. "Please, I need to speak," she said, her voice shaking. I believe I recognize this young man. He's my nephew." James glanced at Margaret, astonished. "Lucas is your nephew?" he asked, taken aback. "I knew he had an aunt, but I could never track her down." Margaret, still reeling from the revelation, informed the officers that Lucas was the son of her late sister Jane. Now aware of the situation, the officers conceded the truth and began to grasp the depth of the mix-up. James and Margaret stepped away from the officers for a more private conversation. Feeling a blend of relief and regret, Margaret recounted the tragic circumstances that had led to Lucas's adoption and her own struggles with illness that prevented her from caring for him. James listened intently as he shared how he had adopted Lucas and devoted himself to raising him with love. "I always wanted to find Lucas's biological family," he said earnestly. "But now that I've found you, Margaret, I want you to be part of his life." Overwhelmed with emotion, Margaret accepted James's invitation. She expressed remorse for her rash and biased actions, explaining that her fears and misunderstandings had driven her behavior. With commendable composure, James forgave her, assuring her that he comprehended the pain and confusion she was experiencing. In the days that followed, Margaret experienced a roller coaster of emotions. She began visiting James's home more frequently, spending quality time with Lucas and nurturing a connection with the nephew she believed she had lost forever. Lucas was thrilled to have a new aunt, and the two quickly forged a unique bond. James observed this joyful new relationship with delight. He felt gratified that Lucas had found a caring aunt and that Margaret had a newfound opportunity to connect and rebuild familial ties. Their story of reconciliation began circulating throughout the community, encouraging others to reflect on their own biases and the significance of family and forgiveness. Determined to evolve, Margaret started attending workshops focused on racial equality, embracing a more inclusive viewpoint. She became a passionate advocate for interracial adoption and family unity, sharing her journey as a testament to transformation. Her dedication garnered admiration from many in the community, who praised her bravery in confronting her past prejudices. Months later, a community event was organized to celebrate diversity and family togetherness, where Margaret, James, and Lucas were honored guests. Margaret delivered a heartfelt speech, expressing gratitude for the second chance life had granted her and underlining the necessity of love and acceptance. The event concluded with a collective sense of hope and renewal. Now united as a family, Margaret, James, and Lucas looked ahead with optimism, ready to tackle whatever challenges came their way. Life in Westbrook had been irrevocably altered, all stemming from a sunny afternoon in the park and an impulsive choice that unearthed secrets and changed lives. Margaret discovered that love and family challenge all boundaries, and her path to redemption served as a powerful reminder that it is never too late to change and make amends. The days after that fateful day in the park truly transformed Margaret's life. She was swept up in a storm of feelings, finding joy in reconnecting with her nephew while grappling with the regret of her past assumptions and choices. The bond between her, James, and Lucas blossomed, and Margaret was resolute in her goal to be a positive influence in her nephew's world. She started making weekly trips to James's home, each visit becoming a precious chance to deepen her connection with Lucas and understand the life he shared with James. The little boy, full of curiosity and joy, adored spending time with Aunt Maggie, as he lovingly named her. Lucas would proudly show her his toys, narrate stories from school, and eagerly soak up the tales Margaret shared about his mother, Jane. One day, Margaret brought along a box of old photographs. Sitting together in the cozy living room, they flipped through the albums while James observed with a warm smile. Every snapshot was a glimpse into the past that Margaret wanted to share with Lucas, helping him piece together the story of his biological mother. The moment she held up a picture of Jane swinging on a swing, much like the familiar one in the park, she spoke softly. "This is your mother when she was your age. She loved to swing, just like you." Lucas's face lit up with a broad smile as he looked at the photo. "I wish I had known her," he murmured. Feeling a lump rise in her throat, Margaret struggled to hold back tears. "She would be so proud of you, my dear," she said tenderly, brushing her fingers along his cheek. Beyond those cherished weekly visits, Margaret also began joining community events that James organized. He was actively involved in initiatives that promoted racial equality and inclusion. Once someone who had shied away from such efforts, Margaret now found herself stepping into a vibrant new world, eager to learn more with every experience. One day, James invited her to a workshop on racial equality he was spearheading at his school. Feeling a twinge of anxiety, Margaret nonetheless accepted, driven by the desire to learn and seek redemption. As she entered the school on the day of the workshop, she felt slightly out of her element. But once she saw James on stage, passionately advocating for diversity and inclusion, a swell of pride filled her, and she admired his unwavering commitment. Thank you all for joining us today. James concluded his presentation. It's through understanding and empathy that we can challenge prejudice and foster a more united community. After the event, he introduced Margaret to the other attendees. Margaret connected with parents, teachers, and community leaders, all eager to share their stories of resilience and togetherness. She was met with warmth, and many complimented her for her brave effort in facing her prejudices and striving for change. One woman, Clara, who had also adopted a child of a different race, shared her personal journey. "We all carry our own biases to confront," Clara said. "But what matters is that we are here, open to learning and growing together." Margaret found solace in Clara's words, recognizing that she wasn't alone in her path to redemption and that a supportive community surrounded her. As time passed, Margaret became a regular at the events organized by James. She volunteered at schools, participated in fundraising efforts, and even began sharing her own experiences concerning racial prejudice in public talks. James and Lucas were thrilled to see the change in Margaret. No longer the rigid and conservative figure she once was, she had become a fervent advocate for equality and inclusion. Lucas especially enjoyed sharing tales of Aunt Maggie's adventures and talking about his mother's journey. One bright spring Saturday, James organized a picnic in the park to celebrate this new chapter in their lives. He invited friends, family, and members of the community. Margaret took charge of the preparations, bringing an array of food and drinks, and setting up games for the kids to enjoy. The park buzzed with laughter and happiness that day. Margaret felt a sense of fulfillment as she watched Lucas run freely with his new friends. Meanwhile, James mingled with guests, keeping a watchful eye on both Lucas and Margaret. During the picnic, Clara made her way over to Margaret. "It's incredible to see how you and James have turned your lives around," she said. "You truly inspire us all." Margaret felt a warm gratitude wash over her. "I still have plenty to learn," she admitted, "but I'm determined to make a difference for Lucas and everyone involved." The picnic served as a reminder of the unity and love radiating from their family within the Westbrook community. Together, James, Margaret, and Lucas became a testament to how compassion and understanding can change lives. As the sky shifted, colors at sunset, Margaret took a moment to reflect on the path that led her here. She recognized that challenges lay ahead, yet with James and Lucas by her side, she felt capable of overcoming anything. As the day wound down, the three of them settled on the lawn, witnessing the sky's beautiful transformation into hues of orange and pink. With his head resting in Margaret's lap and James holding her hand, Lucas softly remarked, "I'm so happy you're part of our family, Aunt Maggie." Tears of joy streamed down Margaret's cheeks. "Me too, my dear. Me too." Under Westbrook's starry night, a new family began to take shape, bound by love, forgiveness, and a shared vision for a brighter future. The next morning, sunlight filtered gently through the curtains of James's house, bringing warmth and light into the room. It was a special Saturday. Margaret had promised Lucas a visit to her cherished childhood haunt, the old Turner family home, now abandoned. James thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for Lucas to connect with his family roots, and Margaret was bubbling with excitement. She packed a delightful picnic, ensuring everything was ready in the car's trunk. When they arrived at the house, Lucas was captivated by its vintage allure. The abode, with its charming white exterior and expansive windows, was nestled among towering trees and a vibrant garden that Margaret had nurtured in her youth. "Wow, Aunt Maggie, this is amazing!" Lucas exclaimed, dashing through the garden. "I'm so glad you like it, dear," Margaret responded with a beaming smile. "This house holds so many stories. Shall we go on an adventure?" Margaret led Lucas inside, guiding him through each room while sharing cherished tales from her childhood and anecdotes about Jane, Lucas's mother. With every story, Lucas felt an increasing bond with his birth mother, and Margaret sensed a relief washing over her as she opened up about these treasured moments. Upon reaching Jane's old room, Margaret settled onto the bed and drew Lucas closer. "Your mother adored this space," she said, gesturing towards a shelf brimming with children's books. "She could lose herself for hours in her reading here. These books are now yours." Lucas gently lifted one of the books, his fingers tracing the pages. "Thank you, Aunt Maggie," he replied, genuinely moved. "I promise to look after them." After the house tour, Margaret and Lucas decided to enjoy a picnic in the garden. They laid a checkered blanket on the grass and sat down to share their meal. As they savored homemade sandwiches and cookies, Margaret realized this was the first moment in years she had felt a true sense of peace. "Did you know your mother and I used to have picnics here?" Margaret asked, casting a warm glance at Lucas. "I didn't know that," Lucas said, his eyes widening in surprise. "Is that why you cherish this place so much?" "Yes," Margaret nodded. I hold many happy memories here, and now I look forward to creating new ones with you. As they chatted and laughed, James arrived to pick them up. He joined them for the picnic, and the three of them spent a delightful afternoon together, deepening their family connections. Later that night, back at James's house, Margaret reflected on how profoundly her life had transformed. For years, she had felt confined by her own perceptions, but now, thanks to Lucas and James, she was eager to embrace new opportunities and insights. Realizing it was time to take another meaningful step in her journey of redemption, Margaret began to actively engage with her community. She attended events and workshops advocating for racial equality and inclusion, forging new friendships, and discovering a renewed sense of purpose. Now she was committed to educating others on the perils of prejudice and the vital importance of love and acceptance. James was a constant source of encouragement for her, always cheering her on and highlighting her bravery and commitment. Lucas, with his infectious energy and joyful spirit, lit up her life in ways she couldn't imagine. With these two by her side, Margaret felt ready to tackle anything that came her way. One afternoon, as she strolled through the park, she bumped into Clara, a friendly face from James's workshop. They sat down together, losing track of time as they shared stories and insights from their journeys. I can see so much growth in you, Margaret, Clara remarked. You're truly inspiring. Thank you, Clara, Margaret replied, her smile wide. I just hope I can keep making a difference. Days turned into weeks, and Margaret continued to evolve and learn. She understood that her path toward redemption was ongoing, but she was fully committed to embracing each moment and giving it her all. With the unwavering support of James and Lucas, she felt she was moving forward. One evening, James planned a special dinner to express his gratitude for all that she had contributed and to show how much she meant to him. During the meal, he stood up to make a toast. Here's to Margaret for her strength, courage, and the love she brings into our lives, he declared, raising his glass. I couldn't ask for a better aunt for Lucas or a better friend for myself. Margaret felt tears welling up as she raised her own glass. Thank you for everything. And to you, James and Lucas, who have given me a second chance and taught me the true meaning of family. I am forever grateful. As time passed, Margaret, James, and Lucas continued to build beautiful memories, each one more meaningful than the last. The Westbrook community watched as Margaret transformed before their eyes, a testament to the idea that with love and determination, anyone can change. On Lucas's birthday, Margaret wanted to make it special. She threw a surprise party in the park, inviting all of his friends and family to celebrate the day. When Lucas entered the park and took in the vibrant decorations and the happy faces of his friends, he rushed to hug Aunt Maggie. Thank you, Aunt Maggie. This is the best party ever. You deserve all this and more, my dear, Margaret said, giving him a gentle kiss on the forehead. The celebration was filled with laughter, games, and joy. As the day came to a close and the sun dipped below the horizon, Margaret, James, and Lucas gathered together, gazing up at the star-filled sky and counting their blessings. I love you, both, Lucas said, holding their hands tightly. And we love you too, Lucas. Margaret and James spoke in harmony, overflowing with gratitude for their blessings. Beneath the twinkling sky of Westbrook, the Turner-Robinson family pressed forward, bound by love, forgiveness, and the hope of a radiant future ahead. The autumn breezes returned, bringing a refreshing change to Westbrook's weather. For Margaret, James, and Lucas, every day was a chance to deepen the connections they cherished. The community, once hesitant, now looked to them as a beacon of unity and love. That morning, Margaret felt a special spark of excitement. She had received an invitation to address a conference on equality and inclusion organized by James's school. After weeks of crafting her speech, she reflected on her journey and the profound influence James and Lucas had on her life. Upon arriving at the school, she was welcomed warmly by the organizers and attendees. Among the faces in the audience, she spotted Clara, beaming with support. In the front row, James and Lucas waved enthusiastically. Holding the microphone firmly, Margaret stepped onto the stage. "Good afternoon, everyone," she began, her voice slightly trembling with nerves. "I'm Margaret Turner, and I'm here to share my story. A story steeped in prejudice, regret, and ultimately, redemption." Margaret recounted the fateful day in the park, the rushed call to the police, and how that impulsive act unveiled a truth that altered her life forever. She shared the sorrow of losing her sister, Jane, and the struggle of not being there for Lucas when he needed her most. Above all, she emphasized the transformative power of love and forgiveness. "When I met James and Lucas, I faced my own biases," she said, looking at the son and father she adored. "But it was through their unwavering patience and love that I learned to see beyond mere appearances. I discovered that true family is defined not by the color of skin, but by the richness of one's heart." The audience was visibly touched, and Margaret felt an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude as she concluded her speech. Stepping off the stage to thunderous applause, she felt lighter than ever. James and Lucas rushed to her side, enveloping her in a warm embrace. "You were incredible, Aunt Maggie," Lucas exclaimed, squeezing her tightly. "I am so proud of you," James added, his smile radiant. As tears streamed down her cheeks, Margaret replied, "I couldn't have done this without you," holding their hands close to her heart. "You truly transformed my life." The days after the conference ushered in a wave of fresh starts. Margaret was welcome to join in on numerous talks and workshops, embracing each chance with vigor, eager to keep making an impact. Her journey sparked inspiration in many, and she became a beacon of hope and change within the community. One beautiful afternoon in the park, as Margaret, James, and Lucas enjoyed the sunny day, Clara approached them with an intriguing idea. "Margaret, James, Lucas," she began, "I have a thought I'd love to share. How about we create a nonprofit organization focused on advocating for racial equality and supporting interracial adoptive families?" Margaret and James exchanged surprised looks, quickly replaced by smiles. "That sounds amazing, Clara," James exclaimed. "I'm all in," Margaret added, beaming. "This is a fantastic chance for us to continue our mission and extend our reach to even more lives." And just like that, the Turner Robinson Foundation was born, a dedicated effort to promote racial equality and uplift interracial adoptive families. Together, Margaret, James, and Clara poured their energy into making the foundation a reality, organizing events, fundraising, and developing supportive initiatives for families facing similar challenges. Lucas, ever the enthusiast, joined in, excited to contribute. He eagerly helped with event planning and cherished the moments spent sharing his story with other kids, demonstrating that love and family transcend all boundaries. Their inaugural major event was a vibrant community festival in the park where it had all begun. Margaret, James, and Lucas devoted themselves to ensuring its success. The festival featured lively music, empowering speeches, and fun activities for the children. When the big day arrived, the park buzzed with excitement and joy. Families from all walks of life gathered to celebrate diversity and unity. Seeing so many people rally around the cause brought tears to Margaret's eyes. During the festival, she stepped onto the stage to express her gratitude to everyone for their attendance and support. "Today is truly a special day," she said, gazing out at the crowd. "We gather here to honor family, equality, and love. I'm grateful to each of you for your presence and for backing our cause." As James and Lucas joined her on stage, they held her hands, solidifying the moment. "The Turner Robinson Foundation is a dream realized," James declared. "With your continued support, we can keep impacting the lives of countless families." The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, and Margaret felt a wave of joy wash over her. She glanced at Lucas and James, acutely aware that none of this was achievable without their unwavering support. They had reshaped her life in extraordinary ways. Following the festival, the foundation flourished, extending its reach to more individuals and fostering positive change within the community. Margaret, James, and Lucas devoted themselves wholeheartedly to their mission, and the Westbrook community rallied around them with fervor. Margaret's path had its bumps, but she understood that each challenge was worthwhile. She had discovered a new family, a profound sense of purpose, and, most importantly, a deeper appreciation for love and acceptance. As she stood alongside James and Lucas, they were confident that together they could surmount any obstacle. Ultimately, love was the essence of it all. The Turner Robinson Foundation quickly became a cornerstone of the Westbrook community. Feeding initiatives led by Margaret, James, and Clara were ushering in transformative changes, with each event surpassing the last. Yet their journey was not without hurdles. Sitting in James's kitchen, Margaret stared out the window, lost in thought. Since the festival, the foundation had seen a remarkable expansion, but this growth brought forth new challenges. There were doubts, opposition from certain community segments, and the ongoing struggle for funding. James entered the kitchen, balancing 2 cups of tea. "You seem worried, Aunt Maggie. What's on your mind?" he asked, handing her a cup. Margaret sighed in acceptance. "Sometimes I question whether we're truly making an impact. With all this resistance, it feels like we're swimming against the tide." James smiled warmly as he settled next to her. "Every step we take, no matter how small, is touching lives. Remember Clara? She shared recently how our work inspired her daughter to chase a career in civil rights. We truly are making a difference." Margaret nodded, feeling reassured by James's sentiments. "You're absolutely right. I just need to keep that in mind when challenges arise. That's why we decided to host a large fundraising event. It was set to be a gala night, aimed at attracting investors and boosting the foundation's visibility." Margaret and Clara poured their hearts into planning every detail, while James and Lucas took charge of publicity and logistics. When the night of the gala arrived, the hotel ballroom was breathtaking, adorned with twinkling lights and soft melodies, radiating an air of elegance. Guests from across the city gathered, including community leaders, business professionals, and families who had benefited from the foundation's work. Margaret donned an elegant dress, feeling a flutter of nerves. This was a pivotal moment for the foundation, and she wanted everything to unfold flawlessly. James and Lucas stood by her side, impeccably dressed and ready to lend a hand. The evening began with a reception where attendees mingled and discovered more about the foundation's mission. Clara took the stage for the official opening, shining a light on both the successes and the hurdles they had faced. Then it was Margaret's moment to speak. Stepping onto the stage, she felt the weight of expectation settle upon her. "Good evening, everyone," she started, her voice steady. "We gather here tonight to honor diversity, unity, and the incredible power of love. The Turner Robinson Foundation was established with the mission of promoting racial equality and supporting interracial adoptive families. Though our journey has had its challenges, every single step has been worth it," Margaret continued, recounting success stories and emphasizing the Foundation's positive impact on countless lives. When she concluded, the applause resonated throughout the room, and a wave of relief and gratitude washed over her. It was now James's turn to address the crowd. He commended the relentless efforts of both Margaret and Clara and expressed gratitude for the unwavering support from everyone present. "This foundation stands as a testament that when we unite, we can overcome any hurdle. Thank you for being here and sharing in our mission." The evening progressed with a silent auction, followed by a musical performance and a delightful dinner. Donations began to pour in, surpassing the Foundation's expectations. The atmosphere buzzed with hope and determination, and everyone departed. The event invigorated with a renewed sense of purpose. In the days that followed, the Foundation began to broaden its reach. With the newly acquired funds, they launched educational programs, provided psychological support to adoptive families, and initiated awareness campaigns in schools and businesses. The skepticism they had once faced started to fade as more people recognized the significance of their mission. Margaret flourished in her role. She became a cherished and respected figure within the community, admired not just for her story of renewal, but also for her unwavering commitment to their cause. James and Lucas stood by her side, always prepared to lend their support. One afternoon, while strolling through the park, Lucas turned to her and asked, "Aunt Maggie, are you happy?" Margaret paused, taken aback by the question. "Yes, Lucas, I am very happy. And what about you?" she replied. Lucas beamed in response. "Yes, I am. I love our family." James, walking alongside them, wrapped an arm around both Margaret and Lucas. "We are a family, and we always will be. Together, we can tackle anything." As time flowed on, the foundation continued to flourish. The Westbrook community emerged as a model of diversity and inclusion, motivating neighboring towns to embark on a similar journey. Frequently, Margaret, James, and Lucas were invited to share their experiences at events and conferences, recounting their story and the impact of their efforts. During one such occasion, Clara made an insightful remark that encapsulated their journey perfectly. What Margaret, James, and Lucas have demonstrated is that real change originates from love and acceptance. They've shown us that even when faced with bias and hardship, it is indeed possible to forge a brighter future. For that, we owe them our deepest gratitude. Feeling emotional, Margaret exchanged smiles with James and Lucas. They had traversed a long road together, and every challenge they encountered only served to strengthen their connection. She understood that this journey was far from complete, but with her family beside her, she was ready to face whatever came next. As the sun dipped below the horizon in Westbrook, Margaret took a moment to contemplate her path. From feelings of regret to a place of redemption, she had discovered a purpose far beyond what she had ever envisioned. With James and Lucas by her side, she knew that anything was achievable. Under the canopy of a starry night, they sat together, savoring the tranquility and fulfillment that came from knowing they were effecting change. "We are a family," Margaret said, holding onto Lucas's and James's hands, "and we always will be." And so, fueled by love and resolve, the Turner-Robinson family continued their journey, inspiring those around them and proving that ultimately, love always conquers all.